Okay, here we have Node-RED engine running. This is the portal of the Node-RED. We have a very simple process. Here we have a system basically which is throwing the data to the Node-RED, and here we have the output system. It could, you can assume it as a SQL server or whatever, and here we have Node-RED doing something. So at the ingestion, what we have is a number of payloads. One constraint that we want to introduce is the order of the incoming of the data. We do not have any deterministic order. We do not know which payload would be considered as the last payload before we start the transformation process. So the indicator is you have to wait for the message with a payload of 0. This type of constraint often happens, and based on the incoming data, we have to evaluate that. So let's suppose payload number 5 is 0. Here we have static information, but on the runtime it could be different. Constraint number 2 is when I show you the transformation. The transformation is such that it have to be a unit block. I mean, one unit of execution. I mean, either all of these processing or the payload processing have to happen as a one ACID operation or atomic operation, or it needs to roll back. So here in basically JavaScript world, I've tried to use try-catch-block to emulate the same thing. All the, I mean, the transaction body is here. If anything goes wrong, mean any processing fails or whatever happens, it reverts to the catch block where the result 0 is sent, which makes sense. I mean, this is one typical scenario which you are trying to make sense of the payload, and the payload does make sense only if they contain such successful message processing. Otherwise, it means that message couldn't process. And this is one helper function just for helping, and these are normal dumps only. And if I just kick start run, before I kick start run, I will just show you the task manager, and here we have in details. Okay, let me kick in this flow and show you something. Now my flow have started. Here you see Node.js is working. It have using number of thread 13, and the CPU is capped at 11, and it is still doing something. And let us see, let it continue to do that. So we have 11:30 right now, and we are waiting for something to happen. And the CPU, if you notice, it's only being used up till 10. All those machines have a lot more cores, but it cannot use that. Neither threads are increasing because of, and here you have the latest results also now finished, and it's no more using the CPU. Thread count is still the same. So the Node.js basic inherent architecture is of using everything on a JavaScript in general is a single threaded language. So why is not very useful to use it as a middleware? Because here neither, as you see, it can use the full bandwidth of the machine. Vertical scaling is not possible, and also horizontal scaling does not make sense here in the middleware, because what will happen is first constraint is coming from the unit of execution. You cannot really split this work into multiple Kubernetes pods, let's say, or multiple containers even, or whatever, multiple flows even. And on the ingestion layer also, if you have multiple, for example, pods running into each other, they will simply corrupt the data, because the order of input is not deterministic. You cannot really split that by this number of message the payload is finished. So oftentimes this happens, this situation happens. So you cannot either have the scaling possible at the input layer or during the processing. Now this is one simple example only. This whole Node-RED solution, basically it connects to RabbitMQ, Kafka, SQL Server using the npm modules itself also, which are also TypeScript, JavaScript based. They also have similar constraints that I am trying to demonstrate here. So the whole solution of Node-RED, whenever its connectors are inherently used, they will become, if ever they are to be patched between two high performance systems like RabbitMQ, Kafka, those are known to be very high throughput systems. If we try to patch Node-RED in between of them, Node-RED will immediately become a bottleneck, no matter how huge of a Kubernetes deployment you will try to use it with, or other scaling method. This is the reason why Most of the, in fact, all of the middleware solutions, they are built on top of multi-threaded powerful languages. Rust, C++, .NET, Golang, those are the languages that should be built on. So this is one limitation, one big limitation, which is why Node.RED is tagged as a low code platform, but never as a middleware.